Alright, guys, welcome along to the show. We're going to get into some more horror. Friday night, we do horror movies on Hellmouth Hotline. We are working our way through the Conjuring universe right now, and we've got as far as Annabelle creation. Now, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think that the first Annabelle movie was that hot. It had some decent moments in it, and I was kind of like, ugh, this is going to be the part of the franchise that I'm not going to enjoy. But I can happily say I thought this was a lot better than the first Annabelle movie. Different director, as far as I know. How much did it make here? Let me see here. Let's see if we can get some details on the budget. The budget was $15 million, and it made $307 million at the box office. So definitely a franchise a lot of people is into. And oh my goodness, I have once again forgotten to hit that intro tune. Alright, so let's get into it. Simple plot synopsis here. Spoilers if you've not seen the movie. Definitely go and check it out. This one here, for the most part, kept me interested. Now, I will say, at the very beginning here, it did fail the social media test. And for me, the social media test is, can a show or a movie keep you interested enough to keep you away from your modular telephone? Unfortunately for Annabelle creation, that wasn't really the case for me. There was a few moments there that I kind of drifted a little bit, and that's only because horror has a way of setting up scares, and if it's done well, that's fantastic. But this movie here, there were so many times, and I haven't even looked at the reception of this movie yet. Like, I'm sure somebody else has picked up on this. There's so many times that similar things are happening, and they're setting something up. They have a build up, it doesn't happen. They have a build up again, it doesn't happen. They kind of like, when's the scare going to happen, sort of a thing. And they kind of build you up once in a while, and then they'll drop it down, and then they'll hit you at some point with it. I don't have a problem with that there. It's a good horror trope if it's done well. Fantastic. But in this movie here, it seems to be overdone at times, if that makes any sense. Obviously, for different characters, there's going to be different scares, different things happening to them, but the beats and how it happens are very, very similar in this movie, and that's the only thing that took me a little bit out of it. But I'm at the point now with these movies where I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they're going to tie them all together. Now, I did make the decision at the very beginning not to go chronological order with these movies. I wanted to go with the way they're released to the public and enjoy them for the first time like that. I haven't seen any of these movies before, so you're hearing my thoughts fresh after watching the movies. So obviously, Annabelle creation, that's where the doll came from. We get that in this movie. There's a doll maker who creates dolls. Him and his wife, good Christian family. They've got a small daughter. They go to church, and you see that there's people there interested in buying their stuff. And some guys got an order in with Samuel Mullins for a batch of dolls, and they're like, call around anytime, they're ready. So on the way home, there is a flat tire on the Mullins' car, and as Samuel is trying to get the wheel off the car, it's kind of rusted in place, he's yanking and pulling at it, and Esther and the small kid, B, her name is, are standing on the side of the road keeping themselves busy, and there's a car coming in the distance. Samuel yanks on the wheel, one of the nuts flies out into the road, and the little girl says, "I'll get it." She runs out and gets hit by the car. Now, not exactly where I thought they were going to go. That was a little bit of a bait and switch for me. Though it made perfect sense whenever you see the entire movie. But I was kind of thinking that this kid was going to be the one that was getting messed about with this doll. Not the case. She does play a major part in the movie, but we'll get there as we go. We cut to 12 years later. The Mullins have now... He stopped making toys, and seems to have stopped anyway. He still has all the gear there. Some of the rooms in the house has dolls in it and that. But for the most part, he's not. That's 12 years later. He opens up his home to provide shelter to Sister Charlotte and 6 girls that were left homeless by the closing of their orphanage. He does warn them, however, he gets them in there, welcomes them, and as warm a way as he can. He's very, after the loss of his daughter in the 12 years, and there's something that's happened to his wife, she hasn't walked in a long time, all this sort of stuff. He's cold, but not overly cold. You just know he's kind of standoffish with people, but he welcomes them in as best a way as he can. The rooms up the stairs is all for the girls and the nun, and him and his wife stay in a room downstairs. One of the girls has a problem with her leg. It doesn't be specific as to whether this is something that was hereditary. She's got like a walking apparatus around her leg, and she's on a crutch. But there's a moving chair on the stairs. The wee girl, she's like, can I stay downstairs because I can't walk? And he shows her this chair and how it works and whatnot. And the only room they're not allowed to go near is a bedroom that he says is locked and it's going to stay locked. It turns out to be B's locked bedroom, his young daughter. Polio. I'm just looking it up here online. The young girl was disabled by polio. Later in that night, she discovers a note saying, "Find me" on it. Now, I should have said that at the start. You do see Samuel, he's making the dolls and that, putting Annabelle together, essentially, the Annabelle doll. And he gets a knock at the door. A note's pushed down below. It says, "Find me." It is his daughter wanting to play hide and seek with him. And he goes into the house and he's like, he finds all her notes. It's like warmer sort of thing, closer, and eventually he figures out where she is, and he leaves her a little note, walks out of the room, and when she sneaks out to check it, it says, "Found you" on it, and he jumps out, and there's a little play moment with him and his wife and his daughter as they're tickling her and getting on. So this something I should have said at the beginning of this episode, but plays into what happens whenever the paranormal activity starts to happen within the house. This little girl, Janice, finds this note, says, "Find me," and she ends up sneaking into the room that was B's room. It's now unlocked. She finds a key for B's closet hidden inside the dollhouse that's in the room, and there's a little figure inside the dollhouse standing next to this door. So it's kind of like, it's kind of something's leading her towards finding this key. She does eventually find the key, opens the closet door, and she sees the Annabelle doll sitting in there. If you're eagle-eyed enough in the movie, it's completely obvious, but just in case you're flipping that, the walls are lined with pages from the Bible in there, and we do later on in the movie see how this came to pass. But because she opens this door, she unwittingly releases the demon, and this begins to terrorize the girls throughout the movie. And again, say a lot of setups. Is there going to be a scare? No, there's not a scare. We'll go for another little setup. Is there going to be a scare? Not a scare. And then eventually the scare comes, and by the time it comes, you're kind of like, about flipping time the scare came. But yeah, the demon's tormenting them on and off throughout the movie. One morning, the demon, posing the sister Charlotte, wheels Janice into the old barn where, in the form of the young girl B, she's using, this demon's using the form of the child essentially through the movie. Something else that cropped up in the movie was never the. I'll go back to it now because it would be pointless to to it later on, and you could say you should have flipping caught that sooner. Um, the way they tie the movies together, as I say, that's something I'm getting more and more interested in as I watch these. I am looking forward to seeing The Nun, which will be next Friday's episode in the podcast. But you do get a little vision of the nun within this movie when the sister, the nun, and the girls arrive at the house. She has this photograph of her and a couple of other nuns in there, and she's telling Mr. Mullins who they all are, and as he moves the photograph a certain way, you can see the face of another nun appearing depending on what angle you're looking at. It's like the old 3D covers you used to get for comic books back in the day. You had to be looking at it at a certain angle to get it right. Yeah, you do get a little look at the nun, and he's like, "No, who's this nun over here?" And she's like, she kind of like, I don't know if I got her name or ever met her, whatnot, but she was friendly with these other nuns. So little Easter egg from the nun in this movie as well. So where was I at in my notes right here? Yeah, the demon one morning pushes. She's the demon posing as Sister Charlotte, let's just say, wheels Janice into an old barn where, in the form of the little dead girl B, attacks and possesses her. Lyndon notices changes. Another girl in there, Linda, notices changes in Janice's behaviour and tells Samuel that Janice snuck into B's room, found the doll. Samuel immediately believes Linda and heads inside to see what's going on in the house. He comes across a possessed Janice who is now able to walk. There's no trace of the limp, no nothing. Janice transforms into the demon, and that effect in this movie was pretty good. Like the movie knows whenever it's delivering some freaky scares, it does do it well. I think that's just the pacing of the setup that really takes you out of it at times. But whenever the demon appears in this movie, as I've said countless times in past episodes, depending on how it's done, it could be effective or not effective. For me, sometimes what you don't see is more scary than what you do see, because your mind makes up something a hell of a lot worse than what chances are what they're going to put on the screen. But this one here, incredible. He's holding a crucifix in his hand, and the demon manages to force him to drop it by breaking his fingers, and the demon's not even touching him at this point. You see the demon's there. He's holding a crucifix towards it, and one by one, each of his fingers are just broken, and the cross falls. Outside, Sister Charlotte hears him screaming and runs in, horrified to find that he's dead. So he's been taken out of the equation. She now wants to know what's going on, and she doesn't care. She's like, up to this point, she's been the dutiful nun that is just, playing her role, looking after the girls, keeping herself to herself. But that night, she goes to find out what's going on. That night, Linda sneaks out, and she tries to discard the Annabelle doll into a nearby well. A strange noise comes from inside the well, and she's almost dragged into it, but Sister Charlotte manages to save her, and she heads inside the house to find Janice missing. Sister Charlotte wakes the orphans and looks for her. As Sister Charlotte speaks to she sends them off, sort this here out, go and find her, sort of thing. I kind of lost track in my English there. A lot of that probably didn't make sense to you. Like I was just playing back my words in my head that I just said there, and that just didn't sound right the way I said some of that. So yeah, Linda at this point, the little girl Linda, she knows the doll's involved in this here. It's going to be that's since this doll's turned up, and her best friend's turned into somebody completely different, and now this guy's dead, so I'm going to get rid of this doll. So she goes out, chucks it into the well. But Sister Charlotte, she runs after. She sees her from her bedroom window heading out into the night with this doll and little lamp, and chases her down. And the girl says, that the doll's the problem here. It's possessed, whatever. I'm going to get rid of it. She chucks it down into the well. It's covered by a board. She managed to open it up, drops this thing in, and she hears a noise coming from the well. And like all horror movies, where you get to that point where you should really not go and check out what that noise is. You should just turn on your heel, run, get away from that there. But no, as in each and every horror movie where someone's just about to get messed up, the wee girl's like, oh, I know this doll is evil, possessed, blah blah blah. I just chucked it in the well to get rid of it. Now it's making flipping noises. Let's go have a little look at it. And she does. She goes over, looks in, and two arms reach up and grabs her, tries to pull her in, but Sister Charlotte manages to save her. Sister Charlotte wakes the orphans. She sends them to look for Janice, who's gone missing at this point, and she then goes to speak with the disfigured Esther, who is confined to her bedroom. That's the thing, at the beginning of the movie you do see Esther before her daughter is killed. She's very down to earth, loving, caring. The 12 years later, like, she's obviously been through a lot and restricted herself to this room. But we don't figure out why until now, whenever the Sister Charlotte has just like had enough, like, screw the rules, this guy has took us into his house, is dead, his wife is in her room, barely leaves, talks to anybody, nobody knows what she looks like, and you do see she's got she's using, like, it's like a masquerade mask of an eyebrow that covers part of her face, and any time she wants to do something, someone's in the room, she's like Sister Charlotte earlier in the movie was in the room, and she's like, Esther asked for a glass of water, and Charlotte's happy to do it for her, and could you turn away? She doesn't want her to see her face. Turns out she's been disfigured from something that happened years earlier. She reveals that after Bee's death, they prayed to whatever entity would grant their wish to see their daughter again. An unknown entity answered, so you're getting a similar sort of a very similar story to what you get in the first Annabelle movie. And I was kind of thinking, right, it's weird that they're going over such similar ground, but by the end of the movie it makes perfect sense. So they managed, this unknown entity answered their prayers, and though they briefly saw Bee's spirit, they were like, it's nice, we can see every once in a while it's like the little ghost of their daughter kind of like in the house playing, having fun. And Esther's like, even though I couldn't hold her, it was nice to have that little bit of activity about the house again, and a little bit of life about the house. But the demon then convinced them to transfer the essence into Samuel's dolls, and they agreed. You get that same thing at the beginning of the first movie. Let me move in to the doll, and la la la. But after doing that, they realised that they had attracted a demon who was looking for a human host. And one night, Esther saw Bee's spirit transforming into the demon. Like, she's standing in the bathroom, and she's like the ghost of her daughter standing at the door looking at her, but whenever she looks into the mirror, she sees the actual vision of the demon and not the girl. So they freak out, and they go and try to get things sorted on their own. She manages to get her eye gouged out in the process, and they end up enlisting the help of priests who bless the house, and they locked the Annabelle doll in the bee's closet, and peppered the whole inside of it with pages from the Bible, and there's holy water sprinkled around it to keep this thing contained, more or less. So for 12 years it did work. Then these guys show up and quickly put a spanner in the works. Where are we at now? I've lost track in the notes. So they closed it up. 12 years. They thought everything's done and dusted. This evil's gone, so they decided to open up their house to help people, shelter for orphan children, and they're hoping this is going to be a way for them to repent for what they've done. So we work out what's happening here. Someone sort of set up to the first movie. How are we going to get out of it now? How are we going to get to the end of this movie? It's getting very close. At this point, I'm looking at how much time's left in the movie, and I'm just kind of like, okay, if they're going to go down the way of getting priests in to bless the place again, we don't have time for it, so everything's going to tie up very quickly here. Let me see here. The demon then murders Esther. After Esther gives out, the demon starts to take out as many people as it can towards the end of the movie. I wasn't expecting now. I knew from the start of the movie, I was kind of like, this guy Samuel, he's probably not going to make it. And he didn't make it, so I wasn't surprised. But the wife Esther, I was kind of surprised she went out as well, but she gets ripped in half, and she's kind of putting, she's like nailed to a wall, like in a crucified sort of position. Nasty stuff. While the orphans leave the house, they get out. The demon murders Esther, attacks Sister Charlotte. I thought she was murdered too. She doesn't. She survives. Comes back a little later on to help the girls get away. Linda's trapped and hides in Bee's room towards the end of the movie, but the possessed Janice finds her, tries to kill her. At this point, Sister Charlotte arrives and throws Janice into the closet where they found the doll to start. She throws the doll in there along with Janice and slams the door closed, and everything goes mad. It's like the demon's kind of getting exercised here, more or less. You're thinking to yourself, like, the lights is flashing, everything's shaking, and then suddenly everything goes quiet. The next day, the police arrive to search the house, and they only find the doll in the closet, and they remove that as evidence. Officers escort Sister Charlotte, Linda, and the orphans to find a new home for them. Janice, however, escapes through a hole in the closet wall, and that's the thing. In the morning, they come in there, you're expecting the wee girl to be in there, and the demon probably gone, and not the case. They find the Annabelle doll in this closet, but there's a hole in the back where she's punched her way through. She's disappeared, and the girls move on a bus to their new home. She ends up relocates to an orphanage in Santa Monica, and still possessed. She becomes reclusive and renames herself Annabelle. A couple then turn up, Pete and Sharon Higgins, and they adopt her. At that point, the penny drops very quick at the end of the movie how they're going to tie this stuff up. That's this little girl, Janice. The whole time is the Annabelle that went daft at the beginning of the Annabelle movie and killed her foster parents. So we cut to 12 years later, and after being involved in the whole devil worship thing, the grown-up Annabelle returns home and murders her adoptive parents at night, awakening neighbours Mia, who alerts her husband John to what's going on. We close the movie out as John's heading across to check out what's happening in the other house. Great little movie. Not the best you're ever going to see, but great. Like it's at this point in time, it has to be said, a lot of stuff has been done. It's like, there's not much you're going to come across in a horror movie these days that hasn't been done before. That's just new stories told in a similar sort of ways to prior stories, and most of the time not done as well as some of the older, more classic stuff that I would consider. But this one here does a good job at it. I have to say now, the casting in this movie is great. No issues there at all. The young girls in particular in this movie play it so good. Like they're very, very believable. Let's see now. Let's go for a critical response, shall we? To see what other people thought about it. I thought, before I even check this here, I thought the pacing of the scares could have been a little bit better. There was too much in the way of setups and whatnot. People sneaking about and everything's quiet and whatnot. Something that I just popped into my head there now, kind of, that I kind of had the same sort of feeling with the Conjuring 2. Like there's a point in the movie where something's happening to one of the characters. It's during the night. Everybody else is asleep. But the amount of noise that's happening should awaken everybody in the house, I should say. But it doesn't. And I kind of noticed that in the Conjuring 2. The first one as well, now to think about it. But it's just something that's kind of jumping out at me more and more. And like, as I say, like, stories these days, you're seeing similar sort of stories that you've seen before, done in slightly different ways and whatnot. But there's some things in there that, as far as that goes, like, you're thinking to yourself, like me personally, I don't have the best hearing. Like, I could be sitting in a bar somewhere talking to a mate, and if there's any background noise at all, other people talking or music playing, I'm like, what? But if I'm lying in my bed at night and someone's screaming their lungs out in the next room, chances are I'm going to bounce out of my bed and think, what the heck is going on? But that never tends to happen in these movies. I digress. Let's get into the critical response, see what our people said about this movie. Again, this movie made huge money back, so they're going to keep making these, and they did. There's quite a few of them in the series. How many is there altogether? 10 of them. Up to Last Rites is the 10th movie in the series. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing The Nun. Critical response for Annabelle Creation. Review aggregator, Rotten Tomatoes, a 71% out of 190 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 6.2 out of 10. The website's consensus reads, Annabelle Creation adds another strong chapter to the Conjuring franchise and offers further proof that freaky-looking dolls remain reliably terrifying. The doll doesn't really freak me out. For me, the Annabelle doll is kind of hoping that they would do something more along the lines of Chucky with it. But that just did bring something to mind. There is a point where, like, I thought to myself, okay, they're making the doll move. in this movie. There's one point the doll's sitting in the room. One of the young girls throws a sheet over it because she doesn't want to look at it. The doll stands up and starts walking towards her, but with each step you can see that the sheet that was thrown over it is getting dragged across the front, over the top of it, her head dropped down to the floor, and you're waiting for the sheet to come over and the Annabelle face to appear, but it doesn't. There's like step, sheet coming over, it drops to the ground, there's nothing there. That was a good scare. Similar to, was it the first Conjuring, the clothesline scene where a sheet blows off and hits a completely invisible figure for a few seconds and then flies off and nothing's there. That's the kind of scares I don't mind in movies. I think they're great. Anyway, Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 62 out of 100 based on 29 critics, indicating generally favourable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScope gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale, the same score earned by the first Annabelle movie, with those at post-track gave it an average 4 out of 5 stars and 56% definite recommend. Justin Lowe of the Hollywood Reporter called it wickedly terrifying and said it was closer in tone and old school psychological fright tactics to the original film than either The Conjuring 2 or Annabelle. That's fair. You do have that same sort of vibe of the original Conjuring and not Conjuring 2 or the first Annabelle. Peter Dewbridge of Variety, while criticising the plot, said the film nevertheless manages to conjure some effective scares, and that this effective yet empty-headed horror movie goes to show how eager audiences are to be scared, and how even an unsightly doll can do the trick when the spirit is willing. Chris Hewitt of Empire felt that while the movie can't hold a flickering candle to the James Wan-directed entry in the series, it's got plenty of decent shocks and the odd genuine surprise up its sleeve. Yeah, it definitely does. Emily Yoshida of Vulture wrote that Annabelle Creation's countless sequences of foreboding silence, hands reaching for doorknobs, our heroines shuddering in the dark, waiting for their demonic tormentor to attack, offer nothing really to latch on to. No larger reason to care. It's not purely technical. It's a fair point. Like I did say, there was a lot of setups to scares that didn't come, and that's okay if you're trying to get that scare, but you need to do it and you need to earn it. Whenever you build up that scare and it doesn't come, you're like, okay, there's something's going to happen here shortly. But whenever the second build up where you normally get the scare, then it doesn't happen again. If you do that 3 times in a row before you give the scare, you're kind of like, all right, it's about time a scare come up. You failed the social media test again. I've been scrolling on Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. If I could be scrolling on it, I was scrolling on it. But yeah, that's the only real big gripe I have with the movie. Chris Nashwati, I think I said his name right. I'm not even going to attempt it again. This guy Chris of Entertainment Weekly gave the film a C grade, calling it a mishmash of cliches and nonsense, and writing that none of this will seem new to horror fans. It is what it is, guys. If you're into your horror movies, it's going to be difficult at this point to find something genuinely new. Like all the good ideas, unfortunately, have been used up at this point, and anything you're going to see on screen at this stage of the game, chances are somebody's done it beforehand. And if you've never seen it, me, for example, I if you didn't know this about me, I do tend to mess about with videos and that. And obviously, if you're listening to this and flipping YouTube, I have been known in the past to write a little sketch and mix something on and off. Although some of the best stuff I ever did cannot be put online anymore, or I will indeed be kicked off the internet. But yes, when I say all the good ideas been used up, I made this little short film one time. It's on another YouTube channel of mine. If you go to coinsagemedia.com, you'll see it on there. Just go to the short films page, and the 5 or 6, whatever number it is I did, is on there. This one was called Lurker, and it was like a horror movie, sort of a thing where a guy's getting chased through the forest, and you don't, throughout the whole thing, you don't see what the danger is. All you're getting is visuals of point of view of what the beast is seeing, and it's coming through the forest and whatnot, and you can hear all these noises it's making in the background. I thought I was being as original as possible, and then, you know, I spent weeks at this thing, finally got it made, put it online. It's like, what do you think, guys? And like, a lot of people, you know, fair enough, was giving it, you know, it's pretty damn good for somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. I had me one night, about a week after I uploaded it to YouTube, I was like, thinking you're all original with that there, and the way you were doing that sort of thing. That was the Evil Dead at it. So, yeah, all that to say, it's not easy getting a fully 100% original idea these days. At some point in the history of cinema, horror movies, someone has probably done it before somebody else, and all you can really do now is tell old stories in different ways, and hopefully you'll find a better way of doing it. And, you know, for my money, chances are you probably won't. But I'm enjoying these movies so far to this point. I can't say that's a waste of time watching these here, but I am liking the way that they're connecting the movies up here. It's kind of like the horror equivalent of the Marvel movies, where you're waiting to see, oh, where's this little gem here that's going to connect this movie to the next movie and whatnot. As far as post-credit sequences go, I don't think there was one. I don't know anything about to check out, but yeah, that's a horror movie. You know, you're going to get everything you need in the bulk of the story. They do drop those little nuggets in during the film anyway, but that's going to do it, guys. As I said earlier on, the website's there, coinsagemedia.com. Go over and check out those short films. Let me know what you think of them. I would be curious to get a little bit of feedback on them. Although, in all fairness, if you watch them from beginning to end, you can see me getting just a little bit better each time up until the last one, which is pretty damn good, if I do say myself. Can't even speak words. I'm trying to tell you to go and watch movies that I made. Right, that is going to do it, guys. I've talked enough on this episode. We're heading, gosh, this will be a 40-minute podcast if I don't shut up shortly. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Check out the website, coinsagemedia.com. Follow the show, rate and review, share it along, do all good social media stuff. And if you want to contact the show directly, Hellmouth Hotline at gmail.com is probably your best way to get hold of me if you're listening to the audio and not the YouTube channel. Yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Stay safe. I will be back Monday night with a little more of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So until then, stay safe, and I will see you then. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.